Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's the daylight. It's the new light. We'll try that again. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Amherst Traffic Safety Board meeting. Today is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. First order of business for this evening is just introduction of ourselves. I am Eric Froz, chairperson, and we'll just go around the room here.
Cynthia Selvin, Vice Chair.
Maxwell Khan, member.
Kara Biddlecombe, member.
Dan Ryder, member.
Kevin Cantwell, board member.
Nick Alterio, member.
And with us, we also have liaisons from town departments this evening, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Al Swope, Highway Department. Bill Prenovu, the Building Department. Scott Marshall, Planning Liaison.
Chris Schregel, Town of Amherst Engineering Department, Traffic Safety Coordinator.
So two things that we need to handle first before we get into any new business on the agenda. The first is emergency procedures, just so everyone is aware. Should an alarm sound while we're in the building, the emergency exits are to my left, your right, out the door, exit to the front or rear of the building. And it's just asked, obviously, if the alarms are going off, not to use the elevators. If you can't use the stairs, stay by the stairs and assistance will be provided for you. With that as well, the next item that we need to cover on our agenda is just the review of the last meeting that we had. We did not have a meeting in February as there were no agenda items brought before the board. So that meeting was canceled. So our last meeting that we had was on January 15th, 2025. With that, I will open it up to the board. Are there any comments, revisions, or changes needed to the minutes?
Yeah, I have one. Page 2, item number 2, what is it? Third line from the bottom. It says 11 vehicles passing. I think there should be a through it. 11 vehicles passing through during a 1 hour span. It's like I'm missing a word. Yes, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
That's another thing I saw.
Yeah, you should just call it out. So it's. Any other changes?
On page 2 also, in one spot, my name is spelled incorrectly. It should be Selden, not On.
On item number 3, Chris, second paragraph.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Is it the O?
Yeah, it should be En, Selden.
Bruce makes the motion to turn the meeting back over.
Any other revisions, changes, or comments? None being heard, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make it.
Motion by Kevin, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. Any further comments? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried to approve the minutes, 7-0. All right, so moving in, come on in. We have one additional member this evening, not member, we have council member Mike Sukala with us as well. He is the liaison from the town board to this board. Liaison from the town board to this board. All right, so with that, going through for everybody that's here in the audience this evening, just so you are aware, this meeting is being streamed at the same time as we are conducting it live, so there may be people watching in. Therefore, we do ask that if you are speaking, when you come up to the podium, that you please speak into the microphone so it is picked up by the recording and anybody that is watching online. Next thing, just to let everybody know, is that this board does not have lawmaking authority. We are an advisory board to the town board, and the liaisons are here to support the town board for any items that do not require legal action from the town board. Should this board make any recommendations that require legal action, a motion will be voted on by the board, and then that will go to council member Sukala to take action to put that motion before the town board to take the legal action of what this board is recommending. We'll go through the agenda this evening. As we go through it, we will not go through the agenda in the order of the agenda. We will go through the agenda based on the individuals and how they have signed in, which I need to grab the sign-in sheet right here. So we will go through the sign-in sheet first. That way those individuals that may be at the end of the agenda that are here don't have to listen to all of the agenda items where people are not here. I feel a little discombobulated tonight for missing a month. As we close out each agenda item, we will let you know what the action is that's taken by the board and answer any further questions that you may have. As we work through the agenda, we will first provide background information from Chris from the engineering department and traffic. Once that is concluded, we'll open up the agenda item to public comment. That's where we ask you to come up and speak. You will be provided 3 minutes to speak. At about 2.5 minutes, you'll hear a single ring of the bell, and then you'll hear a double ring of the bell at 3 minutes to let you know that your time is up. You do not need to repeat anything or everything that you have already sent before the board. All of us here as part of this board have received a packet from the town that has all of the correspondence and notes from any conversations that you've already had with the town. So use your time to give us new information. After you've had the ability to speak and the chance to speak, we will close the public comment section, and then we will open it up to the board here to have a conversation for the action that we take from there. Just so everyone is also aware, this board is required to follow the manual on uniform traffic control devices, also known as the MUTCD. As we have our conversations up here, we will refer to that document or discuss that document. We'll explain to you as we're going through that what is exactly going on. This board is not allowed to make recommendations that do not follow the MUTCD. So as I said, we will talk through that. There are questions that'll come up regarding the speed limits. Speed limit in the town of Amherst is 30 miles per hour. There are some things that allow speed limits to go in other places. If it's applicable to your agenda item, we will discuss that and bring that to your attention. There are some speed limits set to be 25 miles per hour as allowed by the state. However, the town of Amherst currently does not allow that based on town code of the Amherst town code, town, whatever it is, town laws. The town speed limit is 30 miles per hour. So to drop anything below 30 miles per hour, that will take town board action in order to do that. We will probably also have conversations regarding stop signs this evening. Just so everyone is aware, stop signs are not speed control devices. Stop signs are traffic control devices. They're meant to control the traffic at the intersection, not to control speed. And then I don't think they're actually on our agenda this evening or any topic item, but this board historically has been supportive of speed humps, speed bumps, and speed tables. However, there is not a plan from the town in order to install them, and the town has not been in favor of them for multiple reasons. So if they come up this evening, we will discuss those and the reasons behind that. So with that, the first people that we have signed in this evening are for agenda item number 1, which is Hopkins, Red Oak, and Bassett, a request for a crosswalk across Hopkins Road. I will turn it over to Chris to give us the additional background information.
Thank you, Chairman. So according to the package, we received an email from Linda Boxer, who is present tonight, and I hope she is able to speak on this item to answer any questions. But this is for additional pedestrian protection at the intersection of Red Oak, Bassett, and Hopkins. I'm going to run through the criteria for establishing a mid-block crosswalk. When looking at establishing a mid-block crosswalk, we look at number of lanes, see if there's sidewalks and ADA accessibility, distance to the nearest intersection, the volume of pedestrians, as well as any type of traffic backups or delays, average daily traffic, the speed limit, geometry, and determination on if you can consolidate people to cross at a singular point, and then also street lighting. So we're going to go through some of those. So this would be a concept of what is being requested of the town. Red Oak is the western leg of this intersection. It is an uncontrolled intersection other than the stop signs on the minor approaches, which is Bassett and Red Oak. Hopkins obviously is a county road, which is 2 lanes and is considered the major road. If we look, there are pedestrian sidewalks on both sides. And there's actually also ramps. So when you look at the criteria, and this is taken out of the MUTCD that the chairman mentioned in his opening remarks, as well as the Institution of Transportation Engineers, ITE, recommended practice, they really look at these 5 things. Does the street have more than 12,000 vehicles per day? In this case, it has 16,000. So you're not meeting that, meaning it just has too much traffic to accommodate that crosswalk. Are there 25 pedestrians per hour for at least 4 hours of the typical day? Of question mark. It's the winter time. We're not going to count now. We have no idea. Is it at least 100 feet from the nearest side street or driveway? Also, is there a protected intersection crossing that is less than 200 feet? So there isn't any other crossing within 200 feet, but we are right next to Red Oak and Bassett. In some instances in the town, we do have mid-block crosswalks immediately adjacent to side streets, but again, I got to give that an X. The 85th percentile speed, which is the speed that most traffic engineers utilize to determine the free-flowing traffic and what people find comfortable traveling on a road, is at less than 40 miles per hour. This count, at least conducted in 2016, it's a little outdated, has the 85th percentile speed, tough to read, but it says 43. In the previous years, 2013, it was 45, and in 2009, it was up to 47. So that gets a negative check mark on that one, or an X. Is there sufficient sight distance? Yes, there is. So then we look at crashes, what's happening here. If there was a high volume of pedestrian or bicycle crashes, that would obviously help the situation. There is not. Looks like there's about 3 in the area. That concludes the criteria review. And keep in mind, this is a county highway, so any of this criteria would be subject to their review should we want to move forward with this type of action. Pass it back over to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. So with that, we will open it up to Linda Boxer, signed in for this item.
Thank you for hearing the request to paint a crosswalk across Hopkins at Bassett Red Oak. It would be a proactive safety measure for pedestrians in our neighborhood. Crossing Hopkins is how I walk to the library, to Clearfield Recreation Area, the plaza at Dash's Market with its other stores, and to walk to my synagogue on North Forest. Others are crossing in the other direction to go to the Center for Jewish Life or Congregation Art Zion, both located on Hopkins Road, particularly on a Saturday, or the Jewish Sabbath, or on one of the Jewish holidays. Many in our neighborhood walk for recreation, to run errands such as shopping at Dash's or to visit the library or to reach Bassett Park in the other direction. As spring comes, there will be more walkers. While waiting to cross Hopkins in either direction, I'm fearful of stepping too close to the road because if someone stops or slows to make a left turn on either Bassett or Red Oak, impatient drivers will pass on the shoulder, coming awfully close to pedestrians waiting to cross. Because right turn on red is allowed at the intersections of Hopkins with both Maple and West Klein, there are times when there's a steady flow of traffic and very minimal gaps. It is my understanding that a crosswalk is any part of the road at an intersection between the curbs or edges of a road on opposite sides of the roadway. Therefore, the area in question is already considered a crosswalk, even though it's not currently marked as one. So it means I'm using an invisible crosswalk. Further, it's my understanding that if there is a painted crosswalk at a location where there are no traffic control signals for drivers or pedestrians, drivers must yield right of way to the pedestrian. Those painted lines would offer the pedestrians in our neighborhood a measure of protection. As a 76-year-old woman with 2 knee replacements, I don't run. I can walk briskly. However, I have had near misses trying to cross Hopkins and have heard blaring horns at me on multiple occasions. Sometimes it seems as if drivers have accelerated above the 35-mile-an-hour posted speed limit rather than slowing down when they see a pedestrian. A traffic signal would be even better, but as the first step towards increasing traffic safety, a painted crosswalk would serve as a reminder that pedestrians share the roadways and serve as a deterrent to a terrible accident. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Mike Stuloff?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Steckloff. I live at 60 Guilford Lane, which is right at the Hopkins Maple intersection. And I want to echo many of the things that Linda Boxer just shared. I am someone who walks on Friday and Saturday during Shabbat, and I visit many folks that live off of either Bassett or Red Oak, depending on which way I'm going. And it can be a very dangerous intersection to cross. Also, I am a runner and I run almost every night. And similar to what Linda shared, it's very dangerous to cross that intersection with cars coming, and people do tend to speed to cross the road or in the other direction on Hopkins. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience this evening wishing to speak on this agenda item? None being heard or seen, we will close the public comment period and open it up to the board for further conversation. Comments, questions, thoughts?
I'd like to hold off on this until we get a count. And in the spring, as you say, the traffic's gonna increase. And it would be important to get a count on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings. That's the prime time, right? Yeah. That's when people are really, really using that intersection.
Can we get a time frame, please?
It's hard to say just because the time of spot changes seasonally, but I would say Saturday,
Yeah, that'd be based on whenever we did the.
I'm fine with asking for counts.
I'm fine with asking for counts to better understand the pedestrian access through that area to see what is actually there. I do have concern based on the information that Chris provided there on the daily traffic counts on Hopkins, that we're 4,000 vehicles a day over that threshold. So we know from experience that people don't stop for pedestrians. Whether you paint the lines on the road or not doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to stop or that's going to change anything. I think once we know what the true traffic count, what the true pedestrian count is there, I think we'd have to look at this further to see if it would qualify for the rapid flashing beacon in that area based on the counts. I know we've discussed this area on multiple occasions because the library is there, because the park is there, because the Dashes Plaza, there is a gap in the sidewalks. Chris, if you can go to that overhead view again that you had up there.
This one?
Yeah, or the Google Maps, either one. We know that there is a gap in the sidewalk on the western edge. We know that the town has attempted to install sidewalks in that area to connect that piece, but the county has denied the request, correct, Chris?
Yes, without a lot of manipulation to the ground, retaining wall, regrading. They don't want us putting a sidewalk in what they are considering a swale or a drainage ditch along here. We actually bid it out. We had a contractor, we had a price, but we couldn't get Erie County permit approval to install the sidewalk as we had designed it. What they're asking for would require a property taking, and it's just made it very, very difficult. I'd still love to do it, but.
And on the eastern side, there's no sidewalk to walk on Hopkins.
So,
Right, because there's another gap on that side. So as part of this, my ask would be, would there be the possibility if you put the crosswalk there to create the interconnect on that side of the street? But there's ditches there as well, correct, Chris?
I didn't follow your request. Are you saying sidewalk the east side and then?
Sidewalk the east side, 'cause
Yeah,
I'm still,
so
we're
I-
installing, basically the ask is for a crosswalk across Hopkins
to lead to
to
what?
basically to lead to stuff that's on Hopkins that still doesn't have a sidewalk.
Right.
So we're putting a crosswalk, basically we're putting a crosswalk to no place. We're allowing people to cross a street
Well,
to walk on Hopkins.
and by painting a crosswalk, that kind of implies sanction. And right now, who would sanction crossing that street right there? Something you have to get there, yes, but because it's weird, all the public services are there, the synagogue is there, but there's no sidewalk.
So
But to put a crosswalk, it's like saying, okay, it's okay to cross here. And in the face of that tremendous traffic, the speeding traffic, the large number of vehicles, it might not be a good idea. That's the thing.
I would be
So,
more. Go ahead.
Chairman, yeah, you have a good point. If we were to sidewalk all the way to here and then do a crossing here, you're getting away from the side streets, you stay away from the driveway. And the idea there is if you're turning right out of Bassett, you're looking left, you're not paying attention to pedestrians. That's why they don't like those crosswalks immediately adjacent to side streets. If it's truly a mid-block crosswalk, like here, you avoid that conflict. The county's going to look at these speeds and they're going to look at these volumes and say, you can't do this without a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Those are the devices, you push a button and they go like that. We have a couple in town. So that's probably what they're going to say, but that has criteria to it as well. If you guys end up referring this to the engineering department for a count, we would do that criteria at the same time.
Yeah, I think we need to refer to engineering to conduct pedestrian counts to see what our pedestrian count actually is. Because that's going to determine what the next steps would be. If we find that you're the only pedestrian crossing there, which I know from my experience because I live over in that area myself, you're not the only pedestrian crossing. There's quite a few there. I don't know if there's 25 over the time period that we'd be looking for, but that's what we need to establish is what is the actual pedestrian counts, and then from there, that crosswalk needs to go to someplace. We have the 2 crosswalks there, but that's really for people crossing and walking from Bassett to Red Oak. We're looking for people crossing Bassett or Red Oak to get to one of the 2 sides of Hopkins Road, and we still don't have that connectivity from that intersection to do that, without additional sidewalks of some capacity being installed to connect it.
Chris, what did you say the 85 percentile speed was?
46, or wait, no, 43. Let me take a look.
That's,
Yeah, 40,
I mean,
43 was the last, 2016.
you're approaching a very, very busy intersection there. I think a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit is too high for that. I mean, the whole rest of the town around here is 30. You got that Hopkins Road, which is carrying all the traffic, and 5-mile-an-hour higher speed limit. I don't like that.
No, the only reason I'd be okay with it is if you think of the Union one, right? Union's a faster speed limit too, and that's got a rapid flashing beacon in front of the nursing home.
You mean the one over here?
Mhm.
And I live in that neighborhood, and I've seen that operate about twice in 5 years.
I use it. I live there too.
You're the only one.
So, I mean,
I don't think, I never see pedestrians using the sidewalks or the road there.
so on this particular agenda item, even the speeds on the road, if our 85th percentile speed is currently showing 43 miles per hour, dropping the speed limit to 30 is not going to make people
Go slower.
go slower. And I think Captain from the police department can attest to the patrols that they already have on Hopkins Road in that stretch, and probably the counts that they get there, because I see them there regularly on that stretch. And it still doesn't slow them down. Because once you cross over Hopkins and take that stretch from Hopkins to Dodge up near the high school, that's like wide open, just like the same spot that you have going on with Young's Road. What's that? 40. And then hit the 35.
35, and they're still going 40.
They're still going 40.
Well, just to explain that further, the 85th percentile speed is what people feel comfortable driving that section of roadway. If we sign it to be 30, 25, 50, it will still balance out to 43. It's just how it works. That's what traffic engineers' studies indicate. So the sign, it's just a means to enforce, what the design speed is and what people think that the traveling public should be traveling, but that doesn't necessarily change the public behavior when they're on the road.
So at this point, before we can move anything further, we need to understand what the pedestrian crossings are in that area to determine next steps.
Do
So
we,
that,
do we make a motion?
I don't think we don't need a motion for that. I think we can just refer that to, we'll leave this agenda item open pending a pedestrian count from engineering. So what will happen at this point is we'll leave the item open. It'll move to the old business on the agenda. My assumption is it will not be on the agenda for April, just looking at the weather and what the ask is with nicer weather coming in April. Hopefully sometime in April is when the count would happen, when there's nicer, warmer weather to actually, we want to count when we think there's actually going to be people walking. Doing it now would be fruitless.
So we'll pick a nice, warm Friday evening or Saturday. Hopefully there's some recreation activities happening at Clearfield. And just so you know, we don't count in one spot. We'll park there and look both ways. Anybody crossing in that general area will be counted.
So if we wait till that later April timeframe when Amherst soccer is playing soccer games there too, that helps your counts and other events in that stretch.
Now, I got a question for you. So you cross Hopkins and you start walking towards the synagogue or anything down that way. Where do you actually walk? Yeah, okay, so you're walking on the shoulder. How wide is this?
It's a wide shoulder.
It's a wide shoulder. Yeah, still not. Oh, one's going that way. Okay. Right, to get to the other synagogue.
There is I live in that area. On Saturdays, there is a heavy walking population. In the good
Yeah,
weather.
That's why we want to catch it.
Okay, so we will hold this to get counts. You have Chris's information from the correspondence. If you see long-range weather forecast, something that's going to be looking good, if there's something going on in the area that you're aware of, hopefully we can coordinate, or you can coordinate with Chris and he can coordinate with you to let you know when they will hopefully be able to get a counter out there at the right time for you. Okay?
Chairman? Linda, 1 second. Chairman, if I could steal 1 minute just to give her an update on Klein and North Forest. Linda appeared before the Traffic Safety Board last year and asked for additional pedestrian accommodations at this intersection shown on the screen. We were successful in moving that forward, and we just bid it out, and we successfully obtained a low bidder that is before the town board on March 10th. So that'll be likely an award. You can always give your support to Councilmember Zuccalla, and then that'll move forward into construction in the next 30 to 90 days.
And Chris, what is it that they'll be doing there?
Sorry?
What will they be doing there?
We'll be doing ped heads, pedestrian push button heads, to allow for pedestrians to push the button and cross, and there'll be a countdown timer. But then at the same time, there'll be an overlap right turn arrow when the opposing left turn southbound is given the green. There'll be a right turn arrow given, and that'll hold up pedestrians when that occurs. So,
okay.
And there'll be a transfer switch and a meter put in and a backup battery as well.
Great. Thank you. All right, so next item on the agenda this evening goes to item number 6, which is Caesar Boulevard, request for proper turnaround at the end of Caesar Boulevard to accommodate school buses.
Okay, so item 6 is Caesar Boulevard. We received an email from Dale specific to school busing, not being able to accommodate students that live at the very dead end of Caesar Boulevard. Caesar Boulevard runs off of Main Street, closer to Transit, and it is a dead-end road. It does have Connie Lane towards the end of it, which is also a dead-end road. And they are serviced by the Clarence Central School Districts. I'll just do a brief presentation and then I'll pass it back over. So again, the request that came before us is to expand the turnaround at the north end to allow for school bus service. Currently, the bus stop is located at Caesar and Connie. And this, in doing so, would also benefit other operations like garbage, plowing, other large trucks. So this is just a snippet of the northern portion of Caesar, Caesar going north-south. The dead end portion is on the top of the screen where the request for an expanded turnaround is indicated. There is a paper road to the west, which is a fancy way. Actually, it's not a paper road. It's actually paved. A portion of that is paved. So it's kind of an L-shaped paving geometry at that northern end. The current bus stop is located here at Connie and Caesar, whereby requiring all the students that live on this northern end to walk on what is somewhat of a sporadic sidewalk network. There's some on the east side. There's some missing portions on the west side to ultimately go to the corner here to wait for the bus. In reaching out to the Clarence Central School District, this is in your package, but essentially they tried this and the trees at the end ended the bus. The house at the very end uses the paved area for their own personal vehicles and storage. Snow at the end can cause issues for that turnaround as well. It's not properly shaped as a hammerhead or cul-de-sac. They report that around 3 to 5 kids, they don't have an exact number, perhaps the resident does, currently walk to Connie Caesar, and it meets their 500-foot policy that allows for school children to walk if they're within 500 feet of a stop. And in order for this to actually work, they would need that northern end reconfigured into some sort of a turnaround like a hammerhead. There are right-of-way issues that are problematic that I'll jump into in a moment. And they need to accommodate 40-foot buses. They need to eliminate all that parking that's occurring. And the town has to change its operations relative to placing snow at the end. So this is, those orange lines are the right-of-way. And that is shaped like this. So if there's ever future development to the west, that roadway can be extended into whatever's developed to the west. But like I said, those personal vehicles, you can actually see them in this aerial, are being parked outside of their personal property. And there's not a lot of room to place any type of turnaround. I grabbed this from the subdivision regs. This is the typical turnaround, and then just kind of overlaid it to see what it would look like. It is supposed to be transparent. It is not, but you'll be able to see that it encroaches into the right-of-way, or I'm sorry, onto private property, so there'd have to be some sort of taking there. With that, that concludes my little spiel. Pass it back over to you, Chairman.
So we'll open up the public. So actually, before we open up the public, I got one question. The bus currently goes to Connie, and Connie is not connected either, correct? So the bus has to turn around in some capacity at Connie?
Yes. The bus will actually be based on the northbound, north end of Cedar Boulevard, and then it will back into Connie, and then it will turn out and go southbound on Cedar Boulevard.
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll open up public comment. And Dale, the stage is yours.
Thank you for attending this. If you could actually show the overhead view again of the end of the street of the north end. So yes, as you said, there is a small portion that is paved, and it is in a complete L-shaped format. There is one large tree that is there that is in the right-of-way for that area, and as you've shown, there is other vehicles that are parked over there as well. If that tree and to the property line of that right-of-way, there would be more than enough room for a bus to swing in and then swing back to go back south on Caesar Boulevard. I've seen buses do it, but the bus garage has said that they are not supposed to, as that is not in their criteria for them to actually do the turnaround properly down there. But if there, I think there's plenty of room to be able to, if that one tree was cut down, that there would be enough room to actually turn the bus around easily. Yes, there's no room to actually have a hammerhead because of there's no right of way on the east side of Caesar, the northeast side. But with the right of way going towards the west side at the north end, there should be enough. I believe that there would be enough room to, if the tree was cut down and the full right of way allotment was used.
Sorry, Dale, is this the tree you're talking about?
No, actually, I don't know if you can actually go farther.
I can't.
Okay, so right on the other side of that red and white truck right there, there is a large tree that can be seen. Yes, just that one, correct. So realistically, that tree and all the way up to where you see that trailer and just below your cursor and whatever that is right there, that I believe is still in the right-of-way passage. So there is a lot of room to actually turn the bus or to turn a vehicle around. But this is for the safety of the kids that live down there. Currently, there are 4 kids going to that have to walk up to the bus stop at Connie Lane. But there was previously there were close to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13. At one point, there was 13 kids that lived north of Connie that had to walk to that bus stop. So at that point, I'll relieve my time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item this evening? None being heard or seen, we will close the public comment period and open it up to the board for further conversation.
Yeah, I got a question about jurisdiction here. This is the Clarence Central School District,
Yes, we are the last street in the Clarence Central School District, yes.
but you're Amherst residents?
Yep.
It's weird. It's there's it, and when you go further up, you cross the other side of transit, it's the Williamsville School District in Clarence. It's
Crazy.
crosses back and forth over Transit Road. Yes.
So it's the post office.
Yes.
So this is our problem, not Clarence's problem.
It's a town of Amherst Road. So the it's Williamsville, it's Clarence School District. So the requests for this go to the Clarence School District regarding Clarence School District busing policy, but it's a town of Amherst Road. So the ask for this is for changes to the town of Amherst Road to accommodate the Clarence school bus because it's Clarence School District.
And we're all friends anyway, right? So
It wouldn't be any different if it was the Williamsville School District. It's
Correct.
It's
it's part of
inadequate.
ours. Well, whatever. All right, so just so we're getting an idea.
Is there any question that where those vehicles are parked are not the town of Amherst right away? Or is that established without any shadow of a doubt?
I would say even if those vehicles are parked there, if there's the spot that is there and it's not flagged as no parking, they're legally parking.
They are
It's a road.
legally or illegally?
It is a road. So there's nothing there that says that it's a no parking zone. And since it is roadway, they're legally parking on the street.
Except for overnight hours.
Except for overnight hours during the winter.
Should be moving it every 24 hours.
Yes.
And
It's
there's,
not illegal for them to park there.
and there's the basketball hoop down there too, right? Somebody's got a basketball hoop in there?
Yeah, it's off the end of the paved area, but yes, there is a basketball, but it's a rolling one, so that.
They can move it.
So, Al, are you aware of any issues on this area with plowing obstacles from highway's perspective?
Rob?
Well, we send a high for a small truck back there.
So the town doesn't need, from a plowing perspective, any modifications to that turnaround to get plowing equipment or anything in or out of that area?
I mean, if it was bigger, it would help, but I mean, the way it stands right now,
truck goes down, pushes it off, backs up, turns around, because I think our truck will turn around. Okay. So with the information from the Clarence School District, that distance from Connie to the end of that street is within the 500 feet of the busing policy. So even if the town were to take action to change the configuration of that loop at the end of the street, does not mean that the town of Clarence, that the Clarence School District is going to drive the bus to the end of the street. So we have numerous cul-de-sacs and numerous other streets in the town. I know firsthand because I live on a cul-de-sac that the Williamsville School District policy is actually 800 feet. And I'm at the end of that cul-de-sac, and my kindergartner, first grader, who's, well, he's 5th grade now, but still doing it, has had to walk to the corner of the street the entire time. So it's 500 feet, and there's no guarantee that if any action was taken, that it would change the busing policy to actually drive the bus down that section of the street. So I would not be in favor of the town taking action to do anything in this particular instance, because we are looking at a stretch of street that is 500 feet, which is within normal walking distance for a student to have to walk to a bus stop. I'm sure there's many other spots in the Clarence School District where there's kids that are walking longer than 500 feet to get to a bus stop. We're also on a dead-end street. Even if there is lacking interconnective sidewalks, there's not that much traffic in that area, and we don't have any history of any issues there. Not that I want to have history of an issue, but if we look at standard policy, if we're making changes to a town roadway to accommodate a bus for 500 feet, based on the number of locations that we have where we're at 800 feet, 500 feet, and kids are walking, it doesn't seem right to be making changes to this area for something that's in compliance with the Clarence School District, and them already driving the bus down to the street that's there and getting within 500 feet of the last house on the street.
Put another way, bill that they may not come.
Correct.
Chairman, I would just add that you could put in a request to the highway superintendent saying, next time you pave Caesar, consider making something more substantial at the end. But I don't know where they are in the paving schedule. I can tell you that the road is not earmarked for 2025.
So with that, I will leave it to the rest of the board for any other comments, thoughts, suggestions.
I tend to agree with the chairman, because even if we make these changes, there's no guarantee that Clarence, like the gentleman said, that they're not supposed to back up the way that they would have to. So I tend to agree with what the chairman was saying. Maybe one thing if it was something that we could control, but we have no control over.
Well, on the other hand, what you're saying basically what happens at Connie, the bus is doing like a 3-point turn to get back out the other way?
To the north end of Caesar, and then backs up just above the bus lane into Connie Lane, and then it will pull back out. So it goes above a bus lane ahead, or just more than that, above Connie, north of Connie, and then it will back up and turn into Connie Lane, and then it will turn back.
And so
southbound on Caesar.
you've seen them do this, right?
I've seen them do that, and I've actually seen a brand new bus driver drive to the end, make the turns, and come back out without any issue, but they've gotten in trouble for doing that.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's a messy maneuver. And Clarence might say, okay, in lieu of this messy maneuver, we'll take advantage of whatever is done down there by Amherst.
Yeah, but we're still within 500 feet.
It's still within 500 feet is right. So they might say, whatever, do whatever you want, we're still gonna do what we're gonna do.
I could also, I also believe the argument could be made that by having the bus turn around in the middle where it's turning around and making that action where it's not potentially obstructed and congested, that no matter even what you do down there, there's greater visibility in backing up a bus and maneuvering a bus where they're doing it, that it's safer to leave it where it is than moving it further down the street in a tighter area, regardless of what is done to make it a little bit bigger, because it's still not a proper hammerhead.
Is it worth a call to the Clarence District to ask them what you would do if?
I mean, they've already said they're within 500 feet,
All right,
where they're,
implying it doesn't matter.
Chris, we have the response from Clarence School District.
Yeah, they didn't give me an indication that they would change their services if we were to make modifications. They did not commit to that.
Oh, in the absence of that kind of commitment, there's almost no point in doing a change.
I mean, the other thing that you would have to take into consideration if you wanted to do this would go into the same consideration that we take regarding cul-de-sacs in the town of Amherst, that if you make the accommodation for the bus to go down there, we would then also need to post everything down at that end of the street as no parking to allow the access for the bus to be able to turn around, which that would be going to all of the residents in that area and getting them to agree to restrict on-street parking as well. It becomes another challenge and obstacle to it.
I do think we should take issue with the use of the public right-of-way as a personal vehicle storage. It's perfectly fine to park there, but it is not fine to use it for storing whatever vehicles you happen to have. I think that is something we ought to refer to traffic enforcement, parking enforcement, if we could get that cleared up, because that's not an appropriate use of a public right-of-way.
Bill, is that also a building department code violation of any sort?
I think it would be.
So we'll also refer that to police for parking enforcement and to the building department for any potential code violations to review and take under consideration. Any further comments on this item? None being heard, I'll move to close the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried 7-0. Anything else? Or any questions from us at this point? No. Okay. All right, so with that, is there anyone else here for any agenda items this evening under new or old business? Are you here for site plans just to observe us?
It's an underside plan, guys.
Site plans? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, you get to hang out with us as we work through the rest of the agenda and get to that point. All right, so with that, we will move to item number 2 on the agenda, which is Hopkins Roads and North French Road intersection, congestion, safety concerns, and a request for a roundabout. Just so everyone is aware, I believe these next 4 items that we'll go through, items number 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all separate agenda items, but also interconnected as well. So, Chris, I don't know if would it be easier to just hit them all at the same time?
Nope.
Okay.
I broke them up.
All right, thank you. We'll go through item number 2 first.
Okay,
I have one big question. Is North French county or town?
county.
So anything we do, all these are on North French.
Correct.
So anything we do is going to be subject to county review.
Or New York State DOT review,
And some of them are New York State. I think Campbell's 270, that's New York State. That's
as is the 990.
There's
So,
2
all right,
of them.
item number 2. We'll hit all
Yeah.
those as we go through it.
Yeah, we'll hit that. So I kind of broke these up into location. There's 4 of them. The residents' concern was congestion on weekday peaks, safety concerns. There's 2 large schools, site distance along North French. There are no crosswalks or sidewalks. He had concern for the red light runners speeding and thinks that it could benefit from a roundabout. This is the intersection in question. There are no sidewalks. This is a town of Amherst signal. The county does not own any signals. They pass the responsibility of signal ownership and maintenance off to the municipality. So this is one of the ones we own of the 56 signals. As such, we have control of it, and Supervisor Kalpa, during one of his terms, had an initiative to make all of our traffic signals smart signals by placing cameras. This allows us a lot of flexibility to look at what are called automated traffic performance measures. And I'm going to go through some of that right now. That gives us multimodal counts. We can count traffic at all. It's continually counting at all times. So this is a snapshot. I picked February 11th in this case. And you can see the peaks. This is a regular day. It peaks in the AM and peaks in the PM. Generally, north, south, and east, west is fairly close at Hopkins and North French in terms of volume. Overall, there's 18,000 vehicles going through this. So this is one of the tools we utilize to see if the signal is functioning properly. It's called the split trend or split failures, where blue is spare capacity. So we look at all directions. On the screen is every direction through. Red is bad. If you see a red that spikes all the way to the top, that means people are not getting through the intersection in the allotted time that signal provides. Blue is spare capacity, so you could potentially steal from that. In this situation, a lot of spare capacity, it's working quite well. Then we look at the turns, also quite well. This is not one of the bad ones by any means. Then we can also take a look at video to try to sometimes charts are great, but we actually want to see it in action. So I took the peak time. This is 5:30. North is going kind of southwest, well, towards here. You can see the north arrow. So right now, the northbound Hopkins was just given the green. That is clearing out. Now the northbound through is allowed to go. Meanwhile, southbound is stopped. This is the largest point of congestion that I could find on the video. And you can see it's properly being served. You know, all the lefts went, all the greens went after everyone's out. The video stopped. But after everyone's out, then it turns red. So it's working quite well. We look at safety concerns. This is between 2018 and 2023. There were 13 crashes reported. This is not all that bad. I did not pull each one and do any type of analysis, but not too bad. Pedestrian accommodations, we can't be placing ped heads in crosswalks if it's not connected to anything. This is in an area of town where there are no sidewalks, so we can't do much in terms of improvements at that intersection. I don't have that at my fingertips.
Pretty dark area.
Okay. They talked about red light running. Those same cameras provide metrics specific to red light running. These are sometimes good indications for the police to try to target a specific time. This kind of peaks at the 3 to 4 o'clock hour. Yes, North French is a lot worse than Hopkins in terms of red light running. Each one of these dots, just so you know how to read this, the yellow portion is the yellow light. So it's yellow for about 3 seconds, and then it turns red. So any of these little blips are people running the red after the red hits.
And the further, the higher they are?
Exactly. The higher they are, the more they've run it.
So that guy's like 3 seconds beyond the red light, that one guy you just had?
Yeah, this guy's, into the green.
What an evildoer. Oh my gosh, it's 3 seconds.
So all I can say is, yes, the data supports his claim that there's red light running. It's no surprise. It's every intersection that we have has red light running, and the police can use this as they want. In terms of counts, speed is high as well. It's 35 miles per hour posted. 85th percentile is 49 in that section. And that concludes this intersection. So he's looking for a roundabout here. That would ultimately be up to the county if they wanted to pursue that.
I've never had anyone come to this board asking for a roundabout. Makes me want to consider it.
No, I live over there. I don't
Well, we cruise that section, and if you're gonna put a roundabout anywhere in this whole stretch, Millersport seems to be the most
Talking to your
sensible
mic.
place. Millersport seems to be the most sensible place for a roundabout. I forget if it's that way or that way, but Millersport's big enough to accommodate one. But, I mean, I looked at this intersection, it's gonna be hard to fit one in there.
Based on the information that's been provided to us, there's no known or identified safety concerns with the way the traffic intersection is currently flowing. I would move to receive and file.
I agree.
So I'll make a motion to receive and file. Max is seconding that, correct?
Yep. Second.
Any further conversations from anyone else on the board? None being heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 7-0. We'll move
Okay.
to item number 3, North French Road at Campbell Boulevard. Questions, concerns, and request for a roundabout.
Okay, no fancy presentation on this one. For those members that have been on this board for a period of time, you know that this board has been very instrumental in trying to get a dedicated right turn just past Landings in the westbound direction. The state is redoing Campbell Road. They took a look and they are installing this right turn lane as we've been requesting for probably close to a decade. So this entire intersection that he's pointed out is getting a makeover. It's widening out. I think that was one of his complaints, that it was too narrow. We'll have crosswalks and ped heads, new signal, everything done this summer.
About sidewalk.
Yes. All that sidewalk. In fact, they're continuing the sidewalk along North French up to the church.
So what you're saying is, that this one's kind of being addressed already.
Yeah, I think we've taken care of this.
Yeah, I wouldn't put any more review into this until after it's done.
So this is on the 10-year state program. You guys gonna be in the state that knows anything, it takes 10 years from inception to construction. This is a 10-year example, because I've been on this board for 10 years. I think it was one of the first, if not the first item.
You
business.
talking to your mic?
Not the first item of business. It was very early in my service on this board. And Eric, you were here a month before me, right?
Yep.
You remember it for 10
Yes.
years?
So I, at this point, am just going to move to receive and file this item because no action would be taken on this while there's a current New York State DOT project to reconfigure the intersection. Anything that would be considered on this would be after the construction project is completed.
Seconded.
I will move to receive and file, second from Max. Any further comments, questions? I have one, but I'll address it after. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried 7-0. So Chris, the only question I have is in the packet. It's not related to what we're doing. In the packet on this item, you shared information, let me read this, but I was just asking for clarity. I don't know where it is. On that project, it said that they were going to make it 3 lanes from Campbell back to Landings. Is that accurate, or are they making it 3 lanes all the way back to the church 990?
Oh, I didn't save the entire plan set. If you want to give me just a moment, I could
Okay.
pull it up.
Because I believe, I'm asking this only because
Is this what's in the packet, this DOT email?
I'm not sure if it was part of, it's not in number 3, it was, I think, in number,
Does it look like this?
yes.
Okay.
So it says there that the second sentence, modify pavement section and add left turn lanes as the Campbell lanes to North French between Campbell and Landings Drive. Reason why I'm bringing this up is because we've talked about this, and based on the dance studio and the soccer fields and the amount of road width that's there, we've, I believe, asked for that to be extended further down to provide safer access into those soccer fields and
So
everything else.
I did bring that. So here's the soccer field. This is a concept that we prepared and gave to the county by just by making it a 3-lane highway with a center turn lane all the way through. Right turn lane's not shown here, but is this what you're referring to?
Yes.
Yes. The county got back to us and said, the shoulders aren't built for that. It can't be a simple restriping job. I think we pushed back a little bit, but ultimately it's up to them. We'll continue to push for that anytime they do that. Let me just, before we do that, let's just check the county or the state plans.
Reason why I'm asking is if that turning lane is gonna end at landings, not having that turning lane on the other end by the soccer field and into the dance studio, it's gonna potentially make it worse than it is now. Would like to address it now before they start the project if we can.
SP15. SP15. So here's, yes, they're doing it. Here's the start of the right turn lane. So if you remember the last plan I had on the screen, that would turn into that. That's the match line right there. So they're showing a 3-lane section. We'll take a look at the next section. So yeah, they're doing it.
Okay. So it does go further, it goes through the full intersection.
Goes to the 990 ramps.
Goes up to 990 ramps. Great. Okay.
And they, honestly, the state doesn't do this often to make improvements on a county roadway like this, but it came up in their safety evaluation. No surprise there. And they were essentially had to do something as part of their project. So it got rolled into the Campbell Road Mill and Overlay project.
Okay, so this will be a construction project this summer. Okay, thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda, the I-990 interchange and North French Road safety concerns for a roundabout. I also want to point out in the packet, the gentleman referred to a peanut roundabout, which I hadn't heard of.
I think
So,
he's probably talking
Chris, you
about.
I see you have that here. Because
I didn't go deep into the peanut shaped. Is that what you're asking?
yeah, so
No.
the peanut shaped roundabout would be used when you have misaligned intersections or intersections that come in at weird angles to account for that. So when we have those opposing lefts at an intersection, that creates the peanut shaped roundabout.
So specific to this one, he points out poor signage, some confusion. The eastbound traffic is utilizing the westbound left turn lanes in order to turn onto the on-ramp, congestion, and then peanut-shaped roundabout. So this is what he's talking about. The red is somebody who goes into the opposing left turn in order to turn left onto the ramp. Meanwhile, the yellow is just traveling along in their designated lane, and now they're conflicting with the traffic. I've never seen that. What I do see is people not knowing that they're in the left turn lane, having to get over to the single through lane. That happens quite a bit. I know people in the past have asked for, oh, I gotta make it there. Is this it? Yeah. People have always questioned why there are no signs and arrows for this section saying that it's a left turn lane. It's by the time you get into here and you cross over and you're like, oh, wow, I'm in a left turn lane, I got to get over. The reason is they don't want people turning onto the off ramp, you know what I mean, in the wrong direction. If they put arrows there, they're going to think, well, you can turn at this signal. So intentionally, they don't sign and stripe it as a left turn lane. Does it add confusion? Perhaps, but that's the lesser of two evils because we certainly don't want this movement going on. Microphone.
I travel that route a lot, and I think the worst problem is coming from the other way. If you're coming from Campbell going northbound on the 990, you have to, there's no turn lane, and you're sitting right in a lane, and I'm always worried that the person behind me is going to clock me and not realize that I'm stopped. especially at night.
If you're heading east, there's 2 lanes that are there under those bridges, and the center one is not a dedicated left turn lane. Even though people are stopping in the left lane to make the left. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've seen, like, people all the time are making that left turn, obviously, to get on the 990, and the car behind them is not expecting them to stop. So, you understand what we're saying there, Chris?
You're at Campbell and
Nope, so go up to the 990, go to the street view, try to get under the bridge.
right here?
Yep, try to get under the bridge in street view, if you can. Both of those lanes are through lanes,
Yes.
but cars are always in the left lane to make the left.
Yes.
So as traffic is speeding down, they're on North French, people are not expecting that car to make a left-hand turn because there's really is no 990 information there. You're familiar with the area driving through there coming from the other direction, and there's 2 left-hand turn lanes on the other side, so you just familiarity with the area one way versus the other. One side of the road has dedicated 2 left turn lanes. The other side has 2 lanes, and there isn't one of them dedicated to a left turn. Even though you're going through the road prior to that, where it goes from 1 lane to 2, it seems natural that it's going from 1 lane to 2 to go under the bridges to make a left turn lane. So if you backed up the other way,
Room.
but you have 2 lanes. So if you're going the other way where that dump truck is right now,
Oops, come on.
prior to that signal, there's only 1 lane.
Right.
you
Yeah,
have a right
because this
turning-
is a dedicated right.
You have a dedicated right. Now you have,
Looks like this car is, no, I don't know. They turning or going through?
so I think as part of the project that New York State DOT is doing on the rest of the stretch, that I think it would be to our benefit to refer this to New York State DOT and ask them if they could do a review of the intersections under the bridge to see if any safety improvements could be made for improved signage of the turning lanes. And I would also say that that area, hopefully, when they paint for the construction project, they repaint under those bridges going back, because that area needs a paint job.
I was in Massachusetts this summer, and I saw an interchange situation very much like this that had a traffic circle. And I remember driving through it, I'm like, this is a really good idea, the way the traffic all just went around. And here right in our own town is a situation that could benefit that way. Not that the state would do that, but it just made a lot of sense, and I saw the traffic moving very well without the confusion that we're getting.
I'm a huge fan of roundabouts.
I know you're a
If
fan of
if
roundabouts.
we want to ask them, fine. But I think the chairman's right. Just let them do the analysis of what's best safety wise, and if that's what they choose, yeah, I'm okay with
Get
it.
a review, but yeah, I mean,
It's going to be out of our jurisdiction no matter what. It's going to have to be referred to DOT. So I think asking DOT to review it for any safety enhancements that could be made to the turning moves under the bridge, up to and including installation of roundabouts, we can ask that based on the resident's request that's been brought to our attention. Let's get a referral or a comment back from DOT if they'll even take anything under consideration.
Just be as simple as just painting on the highway with the left turn. with the
Right,
arrow
you
and
could,
the through
you
arrow.
could make improvements there just by improved
So that
painting. You could
people know
post some signs for the bridges regarding the turning lanes, better
Don't
signage.
have to be-
Lots of enhancements, I believe, could be made there. That's why there's state engineers that exist. I mean, just signage on those bridges could help. You lose visibility of the signal as you go under those bridges as well, of the next signal. Any further comments or just referral to New York State DOT for potential safety enhancements at that intersection?
do it.
All in favor? Opposed? Pass 7-0. Moving to item number 5, North French Road and Dodge Road, safety, pedestrian concerns, and request for a roundabout.
Okay, now we are moving easterly and we're at the intersection of North French and Dodge Road. This is, again, a county intersection, but we own a traffic signal at that intersection. So similar to the first presentation, I'm just going to run through some of the data that we have. So this one was a little more narrowed down. They said safety concerns related to geometry, offset through lanes, lack of pedestrian accommodations, and could benefit from a peanut-shaped roundabout. So here's that offset. Again, north is up, east-west is North French, Dodge is north-south. And this is the offset that they're talking about. This intersection has no ped heads, has no left, I shouldn't have said that, has no left turn arrows or protected left turn phases, has no sidewalks, and has mile vision. This one has a lot more crashes than the previous one that we looked at. We have 33 crashes between 18 and 23, and there was one bicycle-related crash. Looking at the counts, this one is not as even as the last one. Dodge receives a lot less traffic than North French. The wider the line, the more volume goes through that. So north-south is narrow, east-west is wide. And here are the numbers entering and exiting. Actually, just entering. Here's that volume graph. Again, peaks in the AM and PM peaks with 20,000 vehicles traveling through this intersection. Looking at the ATSPMs and the split failures, you do see some of those reds approaching up high. Oddly enough, I've got one in the westbound through at the 11 or 10:30 or 11 o'clock hour. Yep.
On the top there, it says Hopkins North French. Should be Dodge
Yeah,
North
yeah,
French,
that's-
correct? Was that just the header or is that the?
Yeah, that's a mistake. That's just me using the same PowerPoint and.
Okay. Just
But
wanna
you
confirm.
can see here, it says North French and Dodge. So typo. Thank you for pointing that out. So again, North French Dodge in the 11 o'clock hour, it does seem to spike in the westbound through and the eastbound through. It seems like it spikes that in the northbound as well, but not terrible. Like I said, there's one bike ped crash reported. They're looking for additional pedestrian accommodations. There are no sidewalks in this area. These crosswalks don't lead to any ramps or ped heads. I don't know the history of how they got in there, but they're there. And this is my real just rough draft at 3 o'clock today of throwing in a roundabout of what that would look like. So obviously all these intersections, this is not peanut shaped, by the way, all these intersections would have right-of-way issues. You know, any of these orange lines are right-of-way. So you're going to be dipping into 7-Eleven. Now closed, right, Scott?
Correct. It's closed.
And, you know, you're dipping into this personal property. You know, this side looks fine. But this is a 120-foot inscribed roundabout, which would fit that type of lane configuration. Could it happen? Sure. But it would take right-of-way takings and close to $2.5 million.
By the county.
By the county, or if they don't want to do it, it would fall into town.
Based on the prior conversations we've had on this intersection, before I think I would be in favor of consideration of a roundabout, I would be more in favor of just figuring out a way to do protected turn movements that have been requested on multiple occasions that we haven't been able to meet warrants on.
That's correct. In your package, I provided a 2023 analysis of protected left turns, and it did not meet it. So until it does, we are not going to put in dedicated left turn arrows.
And if we don't have enough traffic to warrant dedicated left turn arrows, the intersection is performing acceptably as is and wouldn't justify the expense of what we're looking at here for a roundabout.
And a lot of that has to do with what I talked about in terms of the volume. To have protected left turn arrows, you need opposing volume delays. If you don't have a ton of traffic on Hopkins, you're getting gaps, is my point. So that's part of the criteria for left turns. If it's heavy, like that other example we had in all directions, it helps you get those protected left arrows.
Right. We don't have enough Dodge traffic.
Nope.
I'll say it again. I would move to receive and file.
I agree. Second.
Second from Max. Any further conversations? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 7-0. With that, we have already addressed item number 6, which takes us to item number 7 that was brought to the board by me. You want me to cover this one, Chris, or?
I don't have anything on this. Go ahead.
So with the recent weather that we've had throughout the course of the year, obviously being one of the heavier snow seasons, I did find it weird driving on the New York State Thruway, driving on the 290 Transit Road, seeing these state DOT plows and the Erie County plows, it appears. They both now have amber and green lights on them versus just the amber lights. Found information on that there's been upgrades to the vehicle traffic law in New York back in 2022, and that the New York State DOT has implemented it and was just bringing it to the attention of the town and the highway department that if the state and the county are moving to install the green lights as an extra safety precaution on the snow removal equipment, is this something that the town of Amherst should also be considering doing for consistency? My observations just on it in driving, when you drive on the road and you see the green light with the amber light, it stands out. And the one thing that I've noticed in that standing out is that that's a signal that the vehicle is moving while it has the amber lights on it, as opposed to when you're driving on the road and there was a car that was in the ditch and there was a tow truck. If you don't have the green light with the yellow light, it's an indication to you that the vehicle is stopped, or it's an indication that it's a warning light on the side of the road or something that's stationary. So just if more vehicles from snow removal perspective are installing these green lights, signaling it's a moving vehicle that's plowing, and the town doesn't take similar action, does it create safety hazards to our plows, our equipment? So just bringing that up to this board, if it's something we'd want to refer to highway to take under consideration, or something that should be referred to Councilmember Zucala as well, if it's a consideration that should be taken to provide additional funding to the highway department to install those extra safety precautions to the equipment.
Chairman, Al Spoth is prepared to talk on this item if you desire. Can you hit the mic by chance?
Yeah, you got it recorded.
We got to take minutes. Sorry, Al.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, we actually, the last 4 trucks we bought, we do have the relights on them. We've noticed it on the county and state trucks, and we're all for it. But like I said, some of our older trucks, I mean, we've got trucks on the road that are plowing snow are over 30 years old. So for us to stick a lot of money into the green amber lights, I don't know if it's at this point worthwhile, but like I said, any of the new trucks that we are buying, we are putting the green flashing lights on them. We are in favor of it.
Are you able to retrofit any of the older trucks?
Some of them we probably could, but a lot of them are old enough that there really isn't a position on the actual box itself to put the lights. You know what I mean? It's older bodies and rusted out bodies and stuff like that. So,
And what's the life expectancy of a plow truck? I mean, are these
you want
trucks?
me to be honest with you? Probably
Yeah.
15 years old. We got some of the trucks that we're plowing with. We got 8 trucks right now on the road that are over 30 years old.
Which is kind of good in its way.
Well, there's some of the better trucks that we have as far as the older trucks with power. They don't have all the pollution stuff on them, and a lot of these new trucks we gotta constantly run them for the pollution and stuff like that. So, but, yeah, no, we're definitely in favor of it, and we are in the process of every truck that we order left green lights on.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Any further conversation from the board? Thank you. We'll close item number 7. And just ask anybody on the board if they have any other new items that need to be brought to the attention of the board that are not on the agenda. None being heard, we will close the new business section of the agenda and we will move to old business. Item A on old business is Arcade Avenue cut-through traffic and the no traffic signage. I am confused by this, Chris, so hopefully you can help me out.
Yeah, I'll keep this simple. Arcade was reviewed. We can utilize the no-through traffic signage here. It's a good example of where we could use it. This being the first time we've ever installed these, we're questioning if state DOT needs to put it in their right of way or the county needs to put it in their right of way, where Arcade, the local road, intersects. Reached out to the county, they responded saying, throw it in your right of way. It's not going to be a sign that we maintain and install within our right of way. The state has not yet responded, but we anticipate their response to be similar. I'll give them another couple weeks to reply. Otherwise, I'm going to send a request to Highway Superintendent Stephen Floss to install the signs on our local road.
So where are they saying they should actually be installed? That's where I was confused. So they'll be on Arcade?
Yeah, so I think Gina from the county clipped out an image of the, I don't know if it's in her package. Yeah. Like it would go right here.
Just on one side or both?
I
Like on the back of the stop sign as well?
don't know. We've never done this sign before, so I would rely on the sign division to place it appropriately. Typically, you'd place it on a single side, and then in the future, if it doesn't work, enhance it on both sides. But I would suspect it'd be on the right side.
If you put it there, haven't they already made the turn to be, they'll just remember for Tuesday instead of Monday. They'll see it Monday.
No,
remember
I mean,
Tuesday.
you make a good point, and that's why we've gotten away from dead-end signs and have now moved to subplex underneath the road signs that say no outlet, where you see it on the major, right under the street sign with an arrow. There is not that flexibility with no through traffic. It is a panel sign that we can't, it's similar to a speed sign, you'd have to place it as close to the intersection as possible and trust that they see it. Al, I don't know if you know of any more information on placing no through traffic signs, like where would you put it here? Again, it's a new sign, so we don't have any experience on it.
We learn now.
Guess we learn. So we're only putting it on, so we still have to wait for a response from New York State DOT
Yes.
for the other end. Should we, before taking any action to this, should we continue to hold the item to see if we get a response from New York State DOT to see if they have a different response? Just so that we then do both ends of the street the same way?
Well, can we just place it there, see if it has the effect we want? And then how hard is it to change it if we get guidance later?
It's probably not. I'm just,
Maybe the state will say, hey, they already put it on that side, well, we probably ought to put it on this side too.
People don't obey signs, so,
Yeah.
Like you said. You
and is it an enforceable sign?
Captain Persons indicated last time that there's a generic V&T law that allows, it's some sort of like failure to
Traffic control device.
Yeah, traffic
Yes.
control signage. It's not specific to this sign, but it's a generic.
Okay. We'll refer it then to highway to install the sign as determined by engineering and highway based on the recommendation from the county when weather permits.
Yeah, I think I'll drop it from old business. We'll put them up, and then I think, Nick, you mentioned that you might want to do, a post study, or somebody mentioned it, where we'll do another count in the middle of Arcade to determine if it had any effectiveness, any impact. on the volume we're seeing on Arcade.
Makes sense to me.
Well, if there isn't an arcade, I'll be happy.
Maybe.
Yes. All right, so with that, we'll close item A. We'll move to item B, which is still being held because of weather. So we haven't had any counts there. That'll stay on old business and be old business to be held for probably May. And with that, open it up to the board for any questions, items under old business that need to be resurfaced. None being heard, we will close the old business section. We will thank our liaisons for their attendance this evening, and we will move to site plans.
Hey, Al, can you stick around for this one? The first one? You know, no, not yet. We're gonna let them speak. We're gonna do their item. Just for this one, for the two people. It has to do with curb cut on Pine Road. Not putting you on the spot tonight, but I think we're asking,
Have a good night, thank you.
Loss to weigh in. So if we report back then, let's see what these people say. All right, we're gonna do this one first, which is, I don't know if you've even seen this. It's a Daniel Latowski. Yeah. I know. They've asked for input. So right now it's in. All right. You put it on the bridge. Yeah, I don't object to that. Three left. I think there's a left arrow. It's a 5-head signal. Left. Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't go that way. What? 1 hour left. Trevor, you ready to do this? Okay. Folks, if we could take our seats, we're going to do site plan. We're still being recorded. This is not necessarily a site plan. This is actually a different type of action coming from the planning department. And we have the petitioner represented here, which we'll introduce. They wanted the opportunity to speak to this board, so we can come to a conclusion on the number of curb cuts. I'll get into it in a moment. Can you explain to the new member?
Four to 6 inches.
Eric, can we, yeah, sorry. All right, guys, so this is I believe, a ZBA action, not necessarily a site plan. So we're not going to see plans other than what's on the screen. This is the first you're seeing this, so I apologize for the lack of notice, but we are at the intersection. We actually already talked about this intersection earlier in this meeting. West Klein and North Forest, where I talked about the pedestrian accommodations we're doing. This lot is currently vacant, and the petitioner before us is proposing a group home in that location in accordance with the concept plan shown on the screen. And what they are proposing is 2 curb cuts. One for some sort of a drop-off, which they will explain, and another one to service the parking lot. The planning department, as well as the engineering department, have brought concerns related to the number of curb cuts, as well as the proximity of those curb cuts within the functional area of the intersection, being that there's turning lanes and traffic coming off of North Forest, where it could lead to potential unwanted conflicts. As such, the number of curb cuts is being questioned, and they've been asked to reduce this down to 1. They wanted the opportunity to speak to this board and give justification. With that, I'll turn it over to the petitioner's representation.
Excellent, thank you. My name is Ari Goldberg from the law firm Barclay Damon. I am the attorney for the project. With me tonight is Kevin Connors, project architect from EcoLogic. It said 4 to 6 inches. I feel like I was close. Anyways, yes, thank you for the opportunity to present. We have been working with the planning department on this design, and one of the final things that we need to sort of work through is our 2 curb cuts versus the 1 that is allowed. Part of the reason for the 2 curb cuts is because of the excellent work that Kevin and his team have done to arrive at this design. That work involved meeting with potential families, with potential members of the group home, as well as surveying other group homes in the area, including discussing at length the women's group home on Maple Road. The 2 curb cuts allows for access for NFTA PAL buses or similar like Aries style vans to quickly drop off anyone and pick up anyone, and then not have to navigate a parking lot for a turnaround. We understand that that does not necessarily square away with the Amherst code, so we're looking to get input from the Traffic Safety Committee. I think Kevin has also already started reconsidering some of the exact configuration of 2 curb cuts, so I'll turn it over to him for that portion of the presentation, and then we welcome any feedback from this committee.
Thanks everyone for the opportunity, and I didn't know you guys existed, so I appreciate the work that you're doing. I started out as a civil engineer. About 30 years ago, I designed the Dodge Road Bridge for the county, and well, I prefer drawing to numbers, so I changed directions. So what we're proposing here, what I've gone back into the just marking up by hand this drawing that you're looking at, the curb cut that we are showing here, the first curb cut, which is 100 feet from the intersection, is almost in line with what you can see on the aerial there, where you have 2 curb cuts across the street plus asphalt paving in between, in effect about a 45-foot curb cut. We were showing a 24-foot curb cut here, but it's really meant for one-way traffic, so there's no reason that couldn't be 12 or 15, as long as we have a radius that a PAL van or something like that can utilize, and that's every day, and it could be multiple times a day because the men would be going in different directions. And the same thing with the outlet. It's given it's one way. That's also shown as 24 feet wide, and that could be reduced to 15 or 12. We're also concerned about snow buildup and just snow storage on the property. So, we start out with 15 or 12, and it's hard to keep it that way with the snow that we have. The idea, we're also limited on this site. This site is only about 50% buildable, and that's because of the wetlands and the new DEC rules require you to stay 100 feet away from the wetland with any development work. So beyond the parking lot that we're showing here, I think we have another maybe 50 or 60 feet that's actually usable or developable. So it'd be really hard to do something on site that would accommodate the turning radiuses for a van multiple times a day, you know, and then workers. There's only about 2 people working at the site, but there might be parents coming on a daily basis or relatives, you know, just coming to visit. So that's the kind of traffic that we're talking about. There also might be events that they have. There has been an interest expressed in gatherings with the women that are on Maple Road. We did hear when we toured Maple Road that sometimes the van that has to go back into the parking lot and make, you know, a 6-point turn, sometimes backs into Maple Road because that's easier to accommodate with cars there. And that's, you know, we don't quite have that kind of traffic counts here. I'm not sure. But our proposal would be we understand we need to stay away from the intersection, so we would want to be 100 feet from the intersection, which is more than the house across the street, and then have another outlet, which is one way, which we feel would be safer than trying to accommodate two-way traffic there. And you'd be able to, you know, make an immediate right on West Klein, or have a decent radius that you can make the left-hand turn to West Klein. We really appreciate the signalized intersection, the pedestrian actuated signals. That's going to be an awesome enhancement. But we feel that having a one-way loop for traffic with the kind of vehicles that they have would be safer than a single curb cut. And just for fun, I counted the curb cuts. I was driving slowly. There were no cars in front of me or behind me, but I take LeBrun from Bailey and Winspear to Main Street. There's 25 double curb cut properties there. It's not uncommon. We've dealt with this in the city of Buffalo as well, where, you know, if you have the space, and none of the spaces on LeBrun have this kind of frontage on them. You know, we feel like this is a really safe thing for pedestrians and vehicles. How much questions or comments?
Yes, thank you very much for presenting. It's nice to see someone present their designs right before the board, so thank you for that. One thing I'm wondering about, you know, what kind of, you said this is a group home?
Yes.
Okay. May I ask, like, what are the residents there? Are they potentially pedestrians?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of them ride bikes
Okay.
fairly regularly.
So it would be, I'm not sure what the situation is with the town's right of way in terms of sidewalks, but it would be nice along the north portion of this. I think, assuming this is oriented north.
Yes, north at the top.
Yeah. There's no sidewalks across the front.
Just the north side of Klein.
Yeah, yeah.
Your side needs them too.
Is that a town right of way along there, or is that? Okay.
West Klein is town, and they would actually be required to put sidewalks in when they built this by the building department along West Klein, unless the town board waives them.
Okay.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. It's a unique spot too, because if you can navigate the map a little to the east there. Sorry, the Google map. See I think it might be Cottonwood, the first street all the way to the east. Sidewalk ends there. Then there's that corner lot's property line, and then it's our 546 feet. It is on the north side. So we had talked about possibly doing that.
Mm-hmm.
We are under the key consideration for us is, of course, the financial state-funded project. So long as, I think it makes a lot of sense as well, given our population, something makes this committee will consider in earnest and bring to the table.
Yeah.
Or even if it's just a small one, an offshoot from our one or only curb cut to the existing sidewalk.
My only comment is I'd like to see the sidewalks and potentially across those curb cuts, some crossing lanes for people as they go from sidewalk to sidewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
This will not go before the planning board. It's considered a single-family home under state law, so therefore they just need a building permit. But they need variances for what they're asking for. One of our department's large concerns with the two driveways is the one closest to North Forest would interfere with the functional area of the intersection for the left turn lanes if somebody were to be using that left turn lane to make a left into this driveway. Westbound traffic.
I guess for the sports consideration, as Kevin had mentioned, that was in
You still could make a left in off of Klein, which would, you'd be stopping the left turn storage. So people can't use it because you're using it to turn into your driveway. So it interferes with the functional area of the intersection.
reiterate that concern, refine it in some way, or help us, guide us to what's more appropriate.
But wouldn't that be worse if there were cars trying to exit and a car?
Oh, exit is actually even worse. Because you have people trying to make a left turn out, interfering with the left turn movement south from the southbound North Forest Road, making the lefts. You know, you're so close to it, nobody's going to expect you to just come popping out and trying to make a left. Then you got cars stacking in the left turn slots. Then you get hung up because you're halfway in the street, the cars coming around.
So at this point, you're saying make this one way.
You'd have to, if you were to do it, the one closest to Klein would have to be one way in, right turn in only, and designed so that cars could not make a left into it.
Not even, because there's
No left off of Klein.
Because it would be too wide. You'd have to have to put a lamb chop in there, and because if you made it wide enough to make a right in, right out, 2 lanes, then people be attempting to make the left turns in or out.
So in terms of what this board is being asked, you guys are an advisory board. Just to be clear, they're not making any determinations on this. They're going to report their recommendation to the planning department, and that'll be conveyed to the ZBA. Is the ZBA ultimately going to make a decision on this, or is it a planning board or planning
ZBA.
department? Okay. So do we want this at all? That's one option. We can eliminate it. We could have them tee it off here. They could still use this for their bus turnaround.
Well, they could actually put a backup area, basically create a T turnaround.
Yep, they
Front
could
of the
move
parking.
this.
No,
they could-
further north.
They can move this whole parking to the north and have a turnaround in the back. So they have options to, go ahead, Scott.
They could just actually extend, pave this, so if they wanted to pull in, drop people off, back up, out, that's an option.
Or make this a right-in only, signing it appropriately so it's one way only, and right,
It would narrow it
prohibit lefts in,
probably.
narrow it down. So yeah, I don't mind the dual access at the other one. No, you'd have to allow lefts in somehow. So yeah. Yes. So full access on the eastern
That
curb
one
cut.
looks like it'd be back it's back beyond the left turn storage area.
That's at least
It's-
200 feet.
Yeah, over 200.
Yeah, it would probably help to actually show the lane configuration on your
Yeah.
plan,
Yeah,
where the left turn slots actually start and stop.
So tonight, we want this board's recommendation on specifically what to do with these curb cuts, but I will mention, Nick, that a sidewalk on the north side of West Klein is also advisable.
the right of way there, well, it varies because the road tapers, but I'm guessing it's about 15 to 20 feet of public right of way. This green space right now. Is there any regulation on where a sidewalk would go in that?
Typically, it's placed up against the property line in the
Okay.
right of way.
Okay.
We should
It's-
say
yeah, it's-
1 foot off property line. Minimum 5 foot snow storage.
Okay.
And then Al Spoth is here from the Highway Department. His boss, Highway Superintendent Floss, has been asked to weigh in as well. So I asked Al to stick around and try to convey this to the Highway Superintendent for his response as well.
They're the ones that gotta give you the curb cut,
They're the,
no matter what the heck you put on that plan.
right.
So,
If he doesn't agree with it, then it's dead in the water.
one other question about the curb cut. Is there a reason to have two as opposed to just having one wider one that is further back from the intersection that also and further into the property includes a turnaround? Is there any reason why you'd prefer two over that configuration?
We think that having the one-way traffic would be safer, for pedestrians and vehicles, and be able to drop off. There's a back door that would be right on the loop
Well,
road.
I question that, by having vehicles moving through the site, are you making pedestrians safer? You have
That
circulating through the site, you got pedestrians walking out the door to get to the sidewalk. It's safer to have them having a roadway basically in between the building and the sidewalk.
Mhm.
Well, it doesn't have to back out into the roadway. You create a turn slot or a T.
Right, but then you have the vehicle backing around on the site. Or the vehicle.
Yeah, but it's not, but
In the roadway.
I have no way of drawing on this thing.
Yeah, and the loading is not going to be instantaneous. It's going to take some time.
My question with the one-way in discussion is if that's even the right flow of traffic for where you would be taking these buses relative to picking up and dropping off residents, because it should go with your traffic flow, so you're not having to, if you're going right, you want to go right. You don't want to have that bus making all the lefts.
Yeah, I think we haven't checked that, but if we reverse the flow, then people would be boarding on the other side, so they're not they can't wait in the vestibule or something. They'd have to go around the vehicle to get to load into the vehicle.
I think I'm going to stop there only because we need to accommodate access to that front. This building is not fully accessible. There's no basement or anything like that. The whole point of it is to make it easier for these individuals to live a life and a more normal life. And part of that is ease of access. So maybe it's taking your T and extending all the way up to the train. Yeah, that's not a, I don't know if we can answer that.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer vans going forward and not backing up personally in terms of safety.
So Chairman, you're okay with it as proposed, or is it one-way direction, or two-way or one-way? Okay, so we've got Kevin with a one-way but right-in only. Chairman, full access one-way? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to get the thing on record.
Yeah.
Property is a driveway.
It's the same with your conversation about arcade. If people want to keep
Yeah,
It's not enforceable.
I agree. I agree. I don't think there's any point of putting a restriction that's not enforceable to begin with. And second of all, you're talking about a one-room by law group home. The volume isn't really going to be there.
There's six individuals.
Sure.
living.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess, yeah, sure, there can be a backup, but the volume is going to be so low. I can't imagine this being a.
I'm okay with. You have enough room there that you could.
Yeah. Free curb cuts. Right.
Have a driveway on two opposing driveways. So we're making an issue on the other side of the traffic about cars making left-hand turns in and out. Well, we've got two driveways.
Yeah, there's a two curb cut house, two houses down.
They created basically a
Yeah,
driveway too. Yeah.
mind you, shared driveways
I
are.
see now.
Yeah, shared driveways are always bad. But that one 2 doors down from there is a two curb cut. I get it that we want to avoid them, but it's fine.
Okay, other members? So Kevin and Dan want one way, right in. Okay, and Eric, Max, Cynthia want full access.
Max, it's okay because it's just a recommendation. Yeah.
Nick, any comments?
How many driveways do we have on the other side?
Yep.
Sidewalk.
Okay. Jared, do you want to weigh in? Okay, one way in on the west curb cut. Do you want it to be a write-in, like Kevin and Dan? Okay. Okay.
If it was,
So we got a 4-3, 4 want full access, 3 want one-way write-in. So I'll report those findings to the planning department. The decision makers will make their decisions, including the highway superintendent.
Okay, this was extremely helpful and appreciate the feedback on the sidewalk as well. Thank you all.